I now call the honourable member for Hasluck.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise today to support the motion put forward by the member for Sturt and would suggest that the House acknowledges the importance of the role of all education sectors in the provision of education for children, regardless of whether they're in the government or non-government sector. That if we as a nation want to capitalise and improve the pathways for the society and the quality of life that we have, then education is a significant element in achieving that. I also want to say that parents choose schools for educational, religious and socio-economic reasons, and for those choices we should not diminish them, but we should allow the opportunity for their decisions as to whether they pay for an element of education should never be diminished by the fact that this Australian government has a responsibility to all, and that the funding, whilst guaranteed, doesn't include the CPI indexing or the future arrangements exceeding beyond 2013 and 2014. Mr Speaker, in my electorate of Hasluck, non-government schools such as La Salle College, Lumen Christi College, Mary's Mount Primary School, Matthew Gibney Catholic Primary School, Mazanoid College, Sacred Heart Primary School and St Bridget's College all stand to be unfairly prejudiced by the Gillard Labor government. The coalition, of course, supports a funding model that allows non-government schools to encourage private investment and to receive adequate support in real terms from government. Disappointingly, Labor has made no such commitment beyond 2013, when the current funding model is due to expire. For example, La Salle College in Middle Swan, which has a fantastic sporting and Indigenous student program, stands to lose more than $547,000 under Labor's plan. Then there is Mazanoid College in Lesmurdy, which faces the loss of over $864,000. $230,000 would disappear from Mary's Mount Primary School, while St Bridget's College would have more than $1 million slashed from its budget if the Gillard government gets its way. Recently, I ran the Hasluck Leadership Awards, a non-partisan search for a young leader or young leaders within our secondary and public and private schooling systems. One of the two finalists came from St Bridget's College. Her family are not elite, as the Greens and Labor's left would describe them. They are hard-working people that have dedicated their resources to seeing their child receive the sort of education they have chosen for her, and the member of Moreton would probably have a number of constituents within his electorate who are faced with the same problems. So I would hope that you would support funding that is of an equal nature to all students in your electorate. For her parents, that choice lies within the non-government schooling sector. The Australian government should continue to support parents in their right to choose a school for their children that best reflects their values and beliefs and does not penalise them for contributing financially to their children's education. We have always encouraged people to make choices in many areas of life, and this applies equally to education. Imagine the strain that would be placed on the government system if hundreds of thousands of students within the diverse talents, needs and requirements descended upon the government school sector if the non-government school sector collapsed in certain areas. The non-government schooling sector is invaluable in this regard. It takes significant load off the public system. This motion is not about criticising the government system, Mr Deputy Speaker. I have worked inside the government education sector as a teacher, as a district director and a director of Aboriginal education, but I've equally worked with Catholic education and the non-government schooling sectors within Western Australia. And I see the value that all sectors have in providing the educational pathways for our students. And I believe that we should be guaranteeing the levels of funding, including CPI indexing, that allows the capability of those systems to continue to expand and provide the educational services that parents choose to make. Non-government schools, by their very nature, require significant funds from parents, and this is naturally supported by both sides of Parliament. My own two sons went to a public sector schooling, but their pathways were no different in choice nor quality of education to those in each of the various sectors. I fully support the motion on behalf of the strong non-government schooling sector in my community of Hasluck and the hard-working parents who support them. Both need to be protected, both need to be funded. I support the motion and would like us to consider the educational needs of all children within the Australian
Order.
society.
The honourable member's time has expired.